Go na, go na.
Sorry, I need the extra slide, so I use the whiteboard. So good afternoon, everyone. My project is, I'm Douglas D, and my project is about developing a new and affordable solar cell. But I'm not talking about the silicon variety. I'm talking about iron sulfide-based solar cells. The motivation of this study is simple. We want to create a cell that has a low material extraction cost, or the raw material is cheap, and has an annual electricity potential index, or the amount of electricity it could possibly generate is high. And iron sulfide seems to do the job. Unfortunately, as I was working on my thesis last year, a journal came out saying that the popular methods being used to create iron sulfide-based solar cells does not work. Meaning, okay, never mind. Which means that the percent conversion efficiency, or eta equals 0, means that they don't have a solar cell with the methods being used. So is it really fool's gold? We'll see. So for my thesis defense, it's entitled Synthesis of a Bulk Heterojunction Solar Cell via In Situ Adsorption of Credite. So my outline is as follows. The general overview of my thesis is I have one synthesis, which is iron sulfide. I've been bouncing back and forth for two general methods, which is to create a photovoltaic cell or solar cell, which is either pure or composite. And the three problems that I used to try to focus the direction of my thesis, which is the stability of my solar cell, to identify what kind of cell it is, and its composition. Now pyrite, which kind of looks like gold, is called fool's gold, and it has these electro and optical properties. And what's most important is that it's non-toxic in comparison to other metals being used for new third-generation solar cells, such as indium and gallium. This is very abundant, non-toxic, and low cost. However, I'm not the first person to work on this. David Saw last year was trying to create, last year, thank you, was trying to create pyrite solar cells. And he came across a precursor named Erdite. And the synthesis of it is actually pretty simple. You have sodium sulfide, you have some iron 3 chloride, and in precipitation reaction, which was initially thought as a redox reaction, comes out with sodium iron sulfide dihydrate. So Erdite has potential as a solar cell. So when I putting together, comparing the electronic and optical properties, we have these values. And it seems to be that they're very close to each other. So Erdite was incorporated in various solar cells. We have pure as well as composite. We have Schottky barrier cell, dye-sensitized solar cell, and bulk heterojunction solar cells. Now, as I mentioned a while ago, these three aspects help me focus trying to develop the cell. Specifically, the problem that I had initially with my preliminary results was that there was an aging effect, and we didn't want that. So what I tried to do was try to fix that problem, identify what cell type it was, and identify the components and how pure my cell is. And here are the overlaps of certain problems that arise because all of these things are all interconnected. So the objectives of my study is to be able to fabricate a working photovoltaic cell and to be able to characterize its electronic properties. Here are my methodology and results. So the problem is, initially what I used to do was to create Erdite through a precipitation reaction through bulk precipitation, which means I was using a lot of reagents and not coming out with enough results. So I decided to optimize it so that we can prevent this from happening. We're not sure if this is whether or not this is rust, but as a precaution, we try to remove or reduce the amount of oxygen in the solution. So what I did was I got some hardware equipment, put them together, and this is what I did. So it's sort of like a Schlenk line. What it does is that a nitrogen gas is fed through fed through a tube and then is distributed to the reaction vessels that I created. Here are the components. Here's a cross section. So when after synthesizing this, we sent it to ENRI. Anyway, so we had this sent for XRD analysis, and it seems that there is Erdite present, and the sample that I had was actually even better than the previous person who worked this after David saw, Miss Danny. There is a higher content of Erdite in comparison to hers, and that although we have a cleaner sample, we still have some impurities such as marcasite. So what do the solar cells look like? Unfortunately, they don't look this good. This is how they really look like. So here's my Schottky barrier cell, my dye-sensitized cell, and bulk heterojunction. So to begin, what I was doing last year was a Schottky barrier cell, and this is how it looks. So we have the working electrode, we have the semiconductor solid Erdite, and the platinum counter electrode. So when light or a photon hits the semiconducting Erdite, this is what happens. So first is excitation of the electrons, and then it is taken to the conduction band, and then it diffuses into the FTO conducting glass. Then it powers the load, and then regeneration. So here is my preliminary results from last year, and as you can see, I put a sort of histogram in terms of like the time that passes as I'm doing all these tests. And as you can see, there seems to be an aging effect, which we don't want. So this is the VOC that open circuit voltage that I got, and this at 40 minutes is the highest. And as I was doing this, stabilization is always a problem. According to Korgel et al., the guy that I mentioned in the beginning of my talk, is that the electrical properties may be difficult to control properly due to the formation of surface defects related to the sulfur vacancies. So what I tried to do is, hey, why not add a surfactant in Erdite? So we added the A-thiol. So this is the basic idea. So what we wanted to do is to is two things. One was either that the sulfide would bind to the iron present because there's a competing reaction with oxygen and water, or we'd like to create this micelle, similar to the soap effect, where we have these surfactants surrounding the nanoparticles. So here are the results that I have. Apparently it's not working because as you saw a while ago for Mr. Fua's presentation, when light is